From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Planters are rolling in the Deep South.
Compared to previous years, we were way ahead of the game for corn planting here in Louisiana.
We'll head to the kickoff of Plant 2023 in Louisiana. Farms and ranches, now lakes.
This will impact the world if people can just grasp that. These farmers and ranchers feed the world.
The possible long-term impact of flooding in California as China continues to make big buys of U.S. corn.
But the ag trade situation is good.
But what about U.S. soybeans? We have an update right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's been a big month for China when it comes to buying U.S. corn. So far this month, Beijing has purchased more than 100 million bushels of old crop corn. Now here's a breakdown of the month so far with all the flash sale reports from China. The buys starting last Tuesday, all adding up to more than 2.5 million metric tons. The latest weekly export report from USDA putting corn sales last week at a marketing year high with a total of more than 3 million metric tons sold, and China as the biggest buyer, accounting for more than half of those sales. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins me, and Michelle, all of these sales to China are going on despite the strained relations between the two countries.
That's right, Clinton. Political tensions between the U.S. and China have run high the past several months. The good news is it doesn't appear that there's been much spillover into agricultural trade to the U.S. In fact, the recent sales of U.S. corn and sorghum followed up a record year of China beef exports, and China has also ramped up soybean exports. For this marketing year to date, China has purchased 1.127 billion bushels of U.S. soybeans, which is up 11% from a year ago. That China business accounts for nearly 62% of the 1.82 billion bushels of U.S. soybean export commitments to date. The head of the U.S. Soybean Export Council says this is evidence the relationship between the U.S. and China on a business-to-business level is solid and is not getting caught up in the higher-level politics.
China has been back as a major player, and China, I've used the word several times. I've heard Chinese leaders use the word ballast. And the ag trade is sort of the ballast in this very stormy relationship between China and the U.S. And I think we've seen lots of storm clouds over the last few months with China at a very high level. But the ag trade situation is good.
He says trade missions have also resumed post-COVID, and although U.S. soybeans are still subject to tariffs, China has been issuing import certificates. This is further evidence of their desire to buy U.S. soybeans.
The tariffs are still there, they're still on the books, but they continue to give tariff waivers. So the importers are able to get a tariff waiver on soybeans from the United States. So they're not paying any tariffs today.
Despite a recent relapse, demand for U.S. soy has also come from the rebuilding of China's hog herd after African swine fever. And attempts to look for substitutes for soy and hog rations have been unsuccessful. So this leaves Sutter optimistic China will be a good customer for U.S. soy long term. Right now, U.S. soybean exports to China have started to slow down and shift to South America. Now, that's normal this time of year as their crop is harvested and comes to market, and especially since Brazil is forecast to have record supplies this year.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Also from China, the country is set to resume importing beef from Brazil. Authorities stopping sales back in late February after discovering a case of atypical BSE. China's Custom Authority says boneless beef aged under 30 months is set to resume. This as Brazilian President Lula prepares to visit China next week, bringing with him a host of meatpacking executives. Leaders from the two nations are expected to discuss economic and business ties along with the war in Ukraine. But China is in the midst of a population decline. In fact, new numbers show the country's capital, Beijing, has posted a population decline for the first time in 19 years. The city's population of permanent residents fell by 84,000 people from 2021 to 2022. It's now home to 21.84 million people. The number of migrants in Beijing, many of whom leave their rural homes to find work in the city, also fell. While last year's drop is a relatively small one, it represents a larger problem seen across the country. China's national population shrank last year for the first time since the Great Famine of 1961. And take a look at this, a rare tornado damaging buildings near Los Angeles this week. It happened Wednesday. The National Weather Service confirming the twister, saying the tornado touched down with winds of 110 miles per hour. One person was hurt. It happened as another Pacific storm roared inland earlier this week, bringing wind, heavy rain, and snow. And the active weather pattern across much of the U.S. shows no signs of slowing down. Meteorologist Courtney Jorgensen joins us with the very latest.
We have a very active weather pattern further towards the south. As you can see, we have that potential for severe thunderstorms throughout the day today. As we're taking a look at that, we're looking at the potential for strong tornadoes, multiple tornadoes, as well as damaging winds. We're talking heavy rain. We're talking large hail. This is a significant weather maker that will be that very severe weather threat as you head throughout the day today. Now, they don't really need any of that rain shower. They're doing pretty good, but there is still exceptional droughts through the central portions of the country. On the west coast, that atmospheric river has just been pounding them, so they're doing pretty good out there too. Overall, the country has certainly seen improvements over the past couple of months. What that does for our root zone, though, well, we're pretty wet on the western edge of the country as we head through the central areas. You can see still extremely dry root zone areas. And we love to see all of those new arrivals out on the farm. Peanut Coleman of Scottsville, Virginia, sharing one with us. Oh, look at that little one. So cute, so sweet. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Now, earlier this week, we showed you the situation in Tulare County, California, where some dairy farmers were forced to move hundreds of head of cattle to higher ground. But the situation is also growing worse in neighboring Kings County, where farms and ranches have turned to lakes after weeks of heavy rain and flooding. As Myra Franco of AgDay affiliate KMPH reports, the impact could be felt for months.
Some people know, some people don't. We have a lake bottom in Kings County. It used to be the largest lake west of the Mississippi. And when several dams were built, the lake dried up and was turned into farmland. I feel for the farmers and ranchers that are having to deal with this on their land. This will impact the world if people can just grasp that. These farmers and ranchers feed the world, and we're going to have 1 million acre feet of water covering up an area that feeds the world.
The massive flooding we are all witnessing throughout California is threatening homes right now near the historic Tulare lake bed in Kings County, threatening farmers, farmlands, and even a bridge near Cross Creek that could collapse any minute. Another day, another road closure. The storm may pass, but the problems are sticking around for months.
1 million acre feet of water isn't going to go away anytime soon. This isn't a one-time, this isn't a 2-day, this isn't a 2-week event. This event will last through the summer, most likely into around September.
Farmers won't be able to farm. A big impact, Robinson says, that will impact many other industries.
That part's pretty hard to swallow, knowing what these farmers are going through. It's challenging. And it's going to take their farmland out of production, in all likelihood for a couple of years.
We prayed for rain and we got it. Robinson now says pray for the right temperatures in the spring.
Pray for a nice, slow, steady spring weather where we don't get some really high temperatures early on that melt the snowpack too fast. That's going to cause us some major issues if it does.
Our thanks to Myra Franco and KMPH for that report. A massive fire swept through a John Deere dealership in Madison, Minnesota. Crews responding to the fire Tuesday evening on a report of smoke coming from the Midwest Machinery John Deere dealer. Fire officials say a gas line was also ruptured, and that fed the flames, making it difficult to fight for a couple of hours. Nearby homes were evacuated. Now, they say the primary offices and shop building of Midwest Machinery were deemed a total loss. No one was injured, and people evacuated are now back in their homes. What sparked the fire is still under investigation. Heavy fund pressure forcing soybeans lower on Thursday. We'll dig into how that's trickling into other markets coming up next. And corn planting is underway down south. We'll stop in Louisiana to see how the crop is going in the country.
AgDay is sponsored by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator steel closing wheels, perfected in conventional, excels in no-till. Order 12 to 16 rows today and qualify for free shipping or 20% off an end zone moisture management package.
Soybeans continuing to slump on Thursday. Despite those big China corn buys, grains were also under pressure. Michelle Rook is back to talk it over with Chip Nellinger in this Markets Now.
Kind of a mixed day on Thursday in grain and livestock futures trade. Chip Nellinger, Blue Reef Agri-Marketing, joining us. And I want to single out the soybeans because we had a poor day there. New lows for the move. We've lost like $1.42 here on the November contract, Chip. And how much more do you think we have in terms of downside risks, especially since funds are still long there?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem that we have is the fund long position. And it appears that, they're in the process of just exiting all their length across the, at least the grain markets, if not a lot of the other commodity markets, all this uncertainty with the banking sector and, the interest rate situation and the financial market uncertainty. It seems like funds are running for the exits. They have a lot more to go in the beans here. Arguably they'd have at least another, 70, 80,000 contracts to go. We broke under the 200-day moving average yesterday, or I should say 2 days ago. And that just kind of triggered them to continue that exit. And so, unfortunately, there might be some more downside here in the short run in the bean market. I think you're unwinding spreads as well, right? That were long beans against short corn and against short wheat. And I think, this technical money flow is starting to unwind that spread that just adds momentum to the sell side in beans.
It does not help that the products, both meal and oil, have imploded as well, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of it as well. The soy oil market has just imploded as well. And, again, it's kind of when it rains, it pours. There's a long position, a big long position built up still in that meal market. So they'd have plenty to go on the meal side, although there's that give and take between the oil meal spreading. Still some profitability on the crush side and the biodiesel, renewable diesel side. But there's a lot of moving parts in there, a lot of spread activity. The bottom line is the funds are in sell mode, unfortunately, and there might be some additional downside here in the very short run in the bean market.
Corn, is the bleeding done there? I mean, we got drugged down a little bit by soybeans, obviously, but we've seen exports pick up.
Yeah, we have 7 of the last 8 days or thereabouts. We've seen China in for U.S. corn. I think that's a good sign. Obviously our export sales were really big yesterday. That was expected. But I think corn is at a value area here. Sure, if beans have another 50, 60, 70 cents to go, it probably won't help corn out. But the funds are already out of their longs in corn. They're actually a little bit net short now. It's the wrong time of year here at the end of March for the funds to build up a big short position with the entire Brazil second crop corn season ahead of us and our entire growing season ahead of us. It'd just be kind of the wrong time historically. So I think the corn's a better value area here than maybe where beans are.
Thanks so much for joining us. Chip Nellinger, Blue Reef Agri-Marketing. More AgDay coming up.
Farming has changed. Markets are riskier than ever. For customized, focused commodity marketing, contact Chip Nellinger or Adam Dreyer at 309-550-7213. Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
As we take a look at our weather, we're in a very active weather pattern, and thanks to the jet stream, especially further towards the south, that is going to remain active with that moisture being pulled up from the Gulf Stream. As it does so, we are going to start to see that trough moving eastward across the northern portions of the country, and that's going to mean some potential for that colder weather to begin filtering in. As we head our way on into Tuesday, you can see things start to even out a bit. A couple dips here, and we have another one coming as we head into the middle of next week. We're going to be watching that for the next round of some showers. Severe weather threat is the big story of the day, though, especially for those folks further towards the south where we have that strong potential for severe weather. We're talking strong tornadoes as well as damaging winds. We're also talking heavy rainfall and the potential for large hail. So do be aware, do be weather aware if you are going to be in those southern areas for the day today. Friday is that concern. We'll track it here for you on the radar, as you can see, and pushing this through into our future track so you can kind of see the timeline for this by the time we get towards the afternoon hours. Still looking at that moving through about St. Louis and into southern Indiana, tracking off towards the northeast. That begins to pick up more momentum and could be causing those issues that we're watching as far as severe weather prediction is forecasted. What does that mean as far as our precipitation in the week ahead? Well, certainly heavier rainfall off towards the east, still dealing with the rainfall over on the west coast as well too. Some snowfall on the north side of this with those cooler temperatures as well. So folks are going to be dealing with that, especially in the northern Great Lakes. Temperature wise, we're talking temperatures on the cooler side to the north, and as we head through the evening and overnight hours tonight and on into tomorrow morning, going to wake up with that cooler start to the day as well. As we head into the afternoon tomorrow, we are looking at those temperatures going to be still warm on the southern edge. Look at down in Florida, those temperatures at the 90-degree mark, going to be warm down there. As we take a look at your select cities, let's take a look at Trenton, Georgia. Partly cloudy skies, high temperature 74 degrees. Then on over to Idaho, we're looking at Boise, and they are looking at a chance for snow showers, high of 41 degrees. Toledo, rain showers, high 41.
Seedless fruit is always popular, and now a company is trying to grow their lemon business with a new seedless lemon variety. We'll have details on that next. And later, planters are rolling in Louisiana. We'll check on field conditions as corn goes in today in the country. USDA rolling out several new programs aimed at school lunch. The agency targeting the money to expand and support school meals. The Secretary, Tom Vilsack, making the announcement at an elementary school in Greeley, Colorado Wednesday. USDA awarding $50 million in grants to increase collaboration between schools, food producers, and suppliers to help create appetizing but also nutritious meals for students. Plus, another $10 million in grants will go to expanding nutrition education. And USDA is also proposing a regulatory change which would make more schools eligible to provide meals to all students at no cost. There is now a 45-day comment period on that. How does this sound? Seedless lemons. Forbes reporting on billionaire farmers Stuart and Linda Resnick. They are the makers of Halos, Palm Wonderful, and Fiji Water, and own the Wonderful Company. They say they're redefining the lemons category now with a goal of selling 60 million pounds of the fruit this year. In 15 years, they hope their exclusively licensed seedless version controls 25% of the U.S. fresh lemon market. Now, right now, that market is dominated by Sunkist. Now, to make it happen, they will need to grow 10 million cartons worth or 400 million pounds of seedless lemons annually on 15,000 acres in California and Mexico. The wonderful seedless lemon variety was originally discovered in Australia by a farmer who studied thousands of lemon buds. The company says he used innovative breeding techniques for a number of years before he finally developed a seedless lemon tree in his orchard. Seeds are going in the ground in Louisiana. We'll watch planters roll in Louisiana as Southern farmers begin Plant 23. That story next.
The 2023 Bracket Busters Challenge, presented by Case IH, is underway. Who's still in the game? To find out, head to AgWeb now through April 3rd to check the leaderboard.
In the Country on Ag Day is brought to you by Pivot Bio. What if you had the nitrogen you need already on seed? Pivot Bio is the first company to apply nitrogen on seed. The nitrogen you need, now on seed, from Pivot Bio. Learn more at pivotbio.com.
Plant 2023 appears to be well underway in Louisiana. As LSU reporter Craig Gautreaux reports, the spring-like weather of February extended into March, and that had planters rolling.
When the calendar flipped to March and soil temperatures were right, it was go time for Louisiana corn farmers. Warm and dry weather for the first half of March gave farmers an opportunity to get most of the state's corn planted.
Compared to previous years, we were way ahead of the game for corn planting here in Louisiana.
By the first day of spring, nearly 90% of the intended corn acreage was planted compared to the 5-year average of 26%. There are several advantages to planting early.
Grows off earlier, you could potentially harvest it earlier. It's not pollinating during hot times of the year. Potential to decrease pest pressure and things of that nature.
Foster expects to see an uptick in corn acres this year because of the price paid for corn compared to cotton.
A lot of growers are decreasing their cotton acres this year. Last year for corn acres, we were around 450,000. I see us at that 500,000 mark or above this year.
Foster himself was busy planning a corn research plot at the Dean Lee Research and Extension Center. These trials give farmers an insight on how new corn hybrids may perform.
These trials are planted on the research station, small plot replicated trials. This year we have 36 entries from commercial seed companies.
One problem that may be encountered down the road is much of the state's corn may be ready for harvest at the same time. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gotro reporting.
All right, thanks, Craig. Now, some of Louisiana's corn belt experienced a freeze Monday, which may cause issues in the short term. The long-term forecast is favorable and should help the crop rebound. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths.